So let's talk about the ASUS H410M-A motherboard in 2025. This board's originally launched in 2020 alongside Intel's 10th gen CPUs. On paper, it was never meant to be anything special. It's an H-series board, budget-friendly, built more for office and workflow machines than gaming rigs. No overclocking, no high-end cycle features or high-end features, just the basics. A socket to put your CPU in, some slots for memory, and enough connectivity to get by. And yet, sometimes the basics are exactly what you need. Fast forward to today, and this board's been running inside my PC since late 2021. Nearly 5 years of gaming, streaming, and everyday workflow. All powered by something most people would call entry level. It's not flashy, but it's been a quiet workhorse in the background, keeping my entire system alive and stable. When I first put this PC together, I had about $600 to spend. I just had sold my PS5 and wanted to finally step into the PC gaming world. And honestly, the priority was kind of simple. I wanted everything brand new, but up to date according to the year that it was put together. I knew I could have gone used and maybe stretched that money further, but peace of mind was a little bit more important to me. Just wanted a clean start. That's what brought me to the ASUS H410M-A. It was the cheapest, most reliable way to get that 10th gen ecosystem. I started off with an i3 processor, but it didn't take long to realize I needed a lot more horsepower, so I upgraded to the i5-10400F, which we already have a review on, which I've been running ever since, in a sense, essentially. Like, literally the i3 only lasted like 3 months before I upgraded. But from there, the system just pretty much evolved, swapping out my RX 6500 XT for an RTX 3070, moving from 16 to 32 gigs of RAM, adding storage with a brand new 512 gigabyte SSD because the first one got kind of messed up due to viruses and stuff. We'll talk about that in here in a second. And a 2 terabyte HDD, all powerful, powered by 800 watt PSU. And through every one of those changes, the H410M-A has been the backbone, holding it all together, and still is. Matter of fact, it's being the backbone right now as we're making this. So to understand what I'm working with, or what I've been working with, let's break it down. The H410M-A uses Intel's H410 chipset and the LGA 1200 socket. It supports DDR4 memory up to 2,933 megahertz, but there's no XMP or overclocking. You get one PCIe 3.0 x16 slot for a GPU, two PCIe 3.0 1X slots, and a single M2 slot for NVMe storage, and add in 4 SATA ports, a handful of USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, Realtek gigabit LAN, and basic onboard audio. That's about it. It's simple. In practice, that means no PCIe 4.0, no CPU overclocking, and almost no room for expansion. It's bare bones by design, but here's the thing: bare bones doesn't always mean bad. So from the very first day, the board just worked. BIOS setup was simple. Windows 10 went on smoothly, and later Windows 11 installed without major issues. Some of the newest updates don't fully support 10th gen hardware, which is one of the reasons why I'm looking toward the future. But overall, the stability has been excellent. The only crashes I ever had were self-inflicted, right? Catching bad viruses like I was talking about, from bad downloads early on, turns trying to download games from sites and mods and all that kind of good stuff, and just not knowing that ecosystem early on, right? And how to properly manage all that. But once that was cleaned up, the board itself has been nothing but reliable. It's the definition of set it and forget it. Of course, this is still a budget board, and the limitations are obvious. That single M2 slot was the biggest one. I wanted to expand storage for years, but with only one slot, I had to make do with the split setup. So I kept the 512 gigabyte SSD for the OS and programs, and a 2 terabyte HDD for all of my games and gaming stuff. It's worked fine, but it's not the ideal setup. Definitely not the ideal setup. The lack of PCIe 4.0 and limited RAM speeds also remind me of its age. It performs within its limits, nothing more, nothing less, but it's never pretended to be anything else. What I respect most is how the H410M-A handled my upgrades, moving from the RX 6500 XT to the RTX 3070. No complaints. Doubling my RAM to 32 gigs, smooth as ever. This board has never bottlenecked the rest of the system in any noticeable way. It's been the unsung hero of my setup in a way. Always there in the background, quietly keeping everything running while I game, stream, and edit content, and even record this. Appreciate you, Motherboard. Now, I can't tie this board to just one single game memory. For me, it's tied to my entire PC gaming journey. From Call of Duty marathons to Arma and Battlefield sessions to tactical shooters like Ground Branch and large-scale shooters like BattleBit and World War III, and even when Crows and all that was alive. And now passing over 100 hours in Helldivers 2, a little bit more than that now from the upload of this video. The H410M-A has been there for every one of those experiences. It wasn't designed for gaming, but it's carried me through years of it without faltering, and that's something just kind of worth noting. So having this board taught me a lot of things about building a PC or buying parts for PC builds. Is first, budget parts do have real value. You don't need the most expensive components to have a system that lasts. Second, expansion matters more than you think. Being locked to 10th gen in one M2 slot has been so frustrating for me. Third, patience pays off. Waiting for the right deal, like when I scored my RTX 3070 for 350 used, is always smarter than overspending early. And finally, there's a trade-off between new and used. Going new gave me peace of mind at the time, but used could have stretched my budget a little bit further. Looking back, however, I don't regret choosing the H410M-A. At the time, it was the perfect choice. Cheap, reliable, brand new, and up to date, like updated according to when I bought it. It was like, we're in that generation. So, and basically powered this PC, my first PC build, and gave me years of stable use. Or this PC has evolved. So my first PC build and gave me years of stable use. That's all I could really ask for at that price point. But in 2025, it's really showing its age right now, and that's why it's almost time to kind of move on. By early 2026, I plan to replace it with an ASUS Pro B760M motherboard or similar, pair it with an Intel i7-12700KF or similar. And this isn't just about chasing performance. It's literally just about remodernizing my platform and just preparing for the future, future-proofing stuff, right? Yeah, that kind of good stuff. Compared to the H410M-A, the one I'm looking at currently right now on my wish list, the B760M gives me PCIe 4.0 support, multiple M2 slots, DDR5 compatibility, and the ability to step into newer CPU generations like 12th or 14th gen, which means I can start off with an i7 12th gen and then later on upgrade to an i9 14th gen when I have the moolah. You get what I'm saying here? Yeah. So now, on the processor side, the difference is going to be even bigger. The i5-10400F I'm on now has 6 cores and 12 threads. The i7-12700KF that I'm looking at doubles that to 12 cores and 20 threads. And obviously, when I upgrade from that to go to i9 and a 14th gen i9, you're going to see double that performance as well. But it's not just more cores, it's a whole new architecture for me. Moving from Comet Lake's 14 nm design to Adder Lake's 10 nm efficiency. Clock speeds jump from a max boost of 4.3 gigahertz up to 5.0 gigahertz, right? That means smoother multitasking, stronger gaming performance, especially with the new CPU, a real headroom for content creation. And pairing that with my latest edition, the RTX 3070, which we'll review at a later date, it'll let the GPU run closer to its full potential instead of being tied down by an older platform. In short, the path keeps me within budget, but sets me up for years to come. Now, the ASUS H410M-A was never built for gaming glory. It was an interest-level office-class board, but in my case, it became a quiet workhorse that carried my transition from console to PC, supported multiple upgrades, and powered every gaming memory I've had made since 2021. Here in 2025, it's still reliable, but it's also a dead-end platform. That's why the move to the B760M or similar and a 1207KF or similar makes sense for me. not just for the performance gains, but for the future proofing, the expandability, the keeping up with the modern gaming demands. The bottom line is simple. The H410M-A gave me everything it could, and I respect it for that. But the time has come to move on, and when I do, it's going to feel like a brand new PC all over again. And then we'll be back with something like this for the new board and CPU. But other than that, I presented all the information for you. If you're looking at this motherboard for your particular build, just know you're going to be pretty much outdated if you're looking at gaming in a sense. But at the same time, the older chipset set can still handle modern shooters. Just think in a couple years, modern gaming titles aren't going to actually support the 10th generation of chips, so keep that in mind. And that's one reason why I'm moving forward, because in a couple of years, literally this chip is just going to be outdated and I won't be able to do anything or play anything. So for me, it's more about moving on so that I can move forward as well, especially that I have a major interest in the newer AAA and AA titles that are coming out. So that's about it.